How is everybody doing today? My name is Anthony Onaganor, aka All-Star, and with my team, Michaela, Gilly, Brian, and Jeremiah, we like to showcase you guys our technical project. For our technical project, we decided to choose a script by Moliere, and it's called Tartuffe. So a little bit about Moliere. Moliere was born in January 15th of 1622, and he died on February 17th on 1673. Moliere was his French stage name, and he was a French actor and also a playwright. His birth name was Jean-Baptiste Papillon, and before he became a successful playwright, he was trained in law and became a notary. And a little bit later, he met an actress named Madeleine Béjart, and together they started the Illusionary Theater, which she was the co-director of it, and she was by all means a capable leader. Moliere, he was a writer, producer, a lead actor, and a manager in the theater. Many people consider Moliere to be like the French answer to Shakespeare. It seemed that Moliere enjoyed antagonizing people, even people from his own aristocratic circle that makes fun of people cheating on other people. And in his play Tartuffe, he poked fun at the religious hypocrisy, and at times it caused a huge conflict among other people. And with Moliere, both himself and his wife often act in his plays as the main characters. And while acting as one of those main characters in the play that he wrote called The Imaginary Invalid, a play that ridicules medicine and doctors, Moliere later collapsed and died shortly after. And Moliere was denied of a Christian burial because of the status of theater at that time period. So like I said before, we're going to be talking about the script Tartuffe in many ways on how we plan to shape this play into something that we envision. So let's talk about the plot in Tartuffe. In the script Tartuffe, it talks about a man, Tartuffe himself, Orgon, and his mother, and how Orgon allowed himself to be duped by Tartuffe, who is a hypocritical person who pretends to be a holy person, but is really somebody who's a scoundrel who wishes to take advantage of Orgon. So Orgon prepares to marry his own daughter, Marianne, but to Tartuffe, even though Marianne is in love with somebody else already. Even though Orgon's family is trying to make him see yo man, listen bro, she already likes somebody else, he refuses to acknowledge that because he just praises Tartuffe in so many ways that his own son Damus even points out to Orgon that Tartuffe is trying to seduce his own wife, Elamir. Well, Orgon doesn't see through it because of Tartuffe, and it wasn't until when Tartuffe was attempting to seduce Elmir that Orgon was concealed under the table, and he finally realized that Tartuffe was trying to snake out with his own wife. So he throws Tartuffe out of his own house, and then Tartuffe tries to get revenge by racking up charges against him in hopes of kicking him out of his own house so Tartuffe can go back in it instead. And it almost worked, but then the king showed up, who had a better judgment of mind than Orgon, and recognized that Tartuffe was a hypocritical cad and had him arrested. So Orgon's property was restored, and that's pretty much what happened with the script.
Alright, so Michaela here, and I just wanted to explain why and how I chose these costumes for these characters in Tartuffe. First up, we have Tartuffe himself. Specifically, I chose Act 3, Scene 7, but throughout this, he is wearing what most would call religious wear. And what you see here is not necessarily the most traditional religious wear for French or Dutch times. It's more of a Puritan look. However, I thought this was appropriate because kind of represents he's not what he seems to be. I like these shoes to go with it because the little gold accent just, sets it off a little bit, brings a little bit more attention to him. And then, of course, he has his Bible accessory. For the colors of the outfit, most of the time religious people only wore completely black, gold accents, and white. And for fabrics, I decided linen and wool to create different textures between the outfit just to give them a little something more. Alright, next we have Oregon, which I like to call the head of the house. The head of the family that's in the play. I chose Act 4, Scene 3. However, he'll wear costumes that are similar to this throughout as days go by. I chose this specific costume or look because it is something typical that the more rich population of French in the 17th century would wear. I decided to go with this dark red color because he is not royalty, so I didn't really consider like a dark blue or dark purple, which is more typical of them, but it still shows he's of high class. I like this cream lace because the white would not be too outstanding on the costume, and white was harder to get back in that time. And then these shoes because it was very typical of men during this time to wear heels. And then his costume preferably would be linen, wool, and the lace on the details. And then he would only be wearing a hat like in the picture with the feather matching the red that I chose. Alright, so next up we have Elmire, which is the wife of Oregon, in Act 3, Scene 3. Now, back in these times, they would wear clothes for several days, even as the rich, because it was hard to wash, or they couldn't wash them, and they didn't take baths every day, and things like this. So you could stick to this one costume if you wanted to, or make a couple different, very similar designs to this. However, I do believe that this dress design is really neat. It makes it very obvious that there is a stomacher there, which was popular during this time, although it was slowly starting to go away as the 17th century went on. For the outer layer of the dress, I would like to use this darker red to relate back to Oregon and just kind of keep the family tied together. And then for the inner layer where you see the white, I like to use this darker peach color. I just think they go really well together and keeps within the warmth of the family. I would like to keep the gold accents on the dress, but I would like to change the lace to a darker cream color just so it doesn't stand out so much and look weird. And then also I felt as though she would be carrying this hand fan with her because these dresses are heavy and obviously she's going to get warm underneath there. And I would like if the dress could be mostly made of linen, maybe this outer layer of wool, and then obviously have the lace detailing on it. Now lastly, I chose Mary Ann, which is the daughter in the family, specifically in Act 2, Scene 4, when she was meeting with Valier. Her costume was interesting to make as I got to, deviate from all the warm colors for a bit. So I have this beautiful blue dress with shorter sleeves as she is younger. And then if you could take this dark peach lace that I have pictured beside it and make that the lace details on the sleeve and maybe the inner side parts of the dress, I think that would be very amazing. I would love if her dress was made out of silk on the outside, as it kind of looks like it is in the picture, and then you have the lace warmth color, and then linen petticoats. I chose this color scheme because I thought it kind of represents how she's having to choose between Valier or her family. So you have the warm colors from her families, but this lighter blue color to picture maybe another person, another family. she's not, she's caught between them. She has a hand fan as well, and it's more of a warmer color just to add that in a little more. And then she has this beautiful blue necklace that I just love and could see her wearing as the dresses. The neckline on most of these dresses were very low, so having a longer or dangling necklace would be very beautiful and eye-catching, especially for a young lady.
My name is Gilly, and I'm doing sound for Tartuffe. Since this play is set in 1664, I wanted to use music that would entertain the audience but wouldn't be overbearing because they would only use instruments back then. So this is the intro song that I picked to play while everyone's coming in and being seated, because I felt like it was simple and it was light. And then I didn't really have any transitions until we transitioned in scene 1. And this is the song that I chose. The reason that I chose a song like this is because I wanted simple music that was calm throughout the whole entire thing. And then when we transition to scene 1 where Damius and Dorian come in, this is the song I chose. And I just wanted the first 20 seconds of it to be played. And then I chose this song also as a transition song because it was fast-paced, but it was still calming and it was still light. I really loved this song because it was really quiet and soft, and then it does speed up and get a little louder. But by the time that would happen, chances are the scene would already been changed and the lights would be coming back on to continue the show. This is also another transition song that I chose because things are getting more suspenseful here. More things are happening. It's not just conversation, it's more arguing now. And then, once we reach this point in the play, Dorian is asking this man's name, and he says that he is, his mister is Tartuffe. And he comes in and brings the document saying that Tartuffe now owns this man's house. But when he says, Mr. Tartuffe, on his behalf I come, I wanted the first 3 seconds of this song to play because it's like a dun dun dun. So that's what I wanted to play because it's still very soft and the actors could speak over it if they needed to. And then when we get to scene 7, Tartuffe enters back and he is now the enemy. And so I wanted to use this song because I feel like it really puts the emphasis on the poor decisions that he made and doing the family wrong. So, like I said, I wanted to keep it calm and subtle and simple throughout the whole entire play. And I felt like this did a good job of not only showing that he is the enemy, but still being calm and simple. And then we're at the end of the script, which is, this show ends with a dance. And so I wanted this song to be for the cast to do their dance to because I feel like it sounds like a ballroom song, but I also wanted it to be used for the bowing and then for the people exiting the theater. Like I said, I just felt like that was good ballroom dancing music. And it would be easy for the cast to be bowing and for people to start exiting theater. That song is actually 22 minutes long and it's just part 1. So I think it has 4 parts, so it would play for an hour. So I feel like that was more than enough time. Like I said, I wanted to keep all the songs really simple because if somebody needed to speak over them, in real life, if I were to fail and not to turn the music off when I was supposed to or have it fade out as quickly as I needed it to, they could always speak over it, and it's not going to draw your attention away from the story that is going on.
Lighting at the start of the play. When the actors enter the stage and start talking, the lighting can go from dark to dim as it gets brighter, or it can go from being completely dark with no actors on the stage to being completely lit up with actors. When an actor has a monologue, the light will directly go on them most of the time. It will single out that character only. That way it will create suspense and dramatic effect. During the play, the mood of the actors changed. This is why we use different colored lights to help set moods. When we use mood lights in order to show detail, we use colors like red, yellow, blue, green. Red is most time used as a sign of anger. Yellow is kind of uncertain, uneasy. Blue is generally sad. And green, that makes it green is kind of like a happy, easygoing mood. The lights can also dim down to show dramatic effect. They can shut off immediately in order to show dramatic effect as well. The end of the play. Most of the time when a play ends, the lights will fade out and the curtains will roll. But in certain plays, say Phantom of the Opera, at the end, sometimes I've seen it where the curtains will close and the lights will cut out completely. Then as the lights come back on, the actors will walk out and do they will bow and all that.
Tartuffe was originally released in the 1600s. Tartuffe was performed in 1664. It is considered one of the most famous theatrical comedies by Molière. The characters of Tartuffe are considered among the greatest classical theater roles. I will have all of my actors walking around with their chin up and talking with enthusiasm, just like Shakespeare's. I will have all my actors moving through two different angles. The actor will enter onto the stage on the back left side and the front right side. They'll enter where they leave from. The play will be scripted for them to leave that way as well. I will have church entrance for the ladies, and I will have a queen chair for them to sit in. I will have an older house with fencing inside with wooden chairs in the tent for the men to sit down and talk. In the background, there will be older pictures for the older wood.
And to add on to what Jazzy said, I feel like adding that little touch if it comes to like furniture or your props or what you're trying to use with the set, if it is Tartuffe, will basically create the mood and atmosphere for Tartuffe when you're using an older style of like props or furniture or equipment, such as like one of the scenes where Orgon was hiding under the table as he was listening in to Tartuffe and his wife, basically just keying to those little details. Also with how the setting back in the 1600s and 1700s and how you can treat Orgon and his family like nobles. So you'll create a setting where the house will look something like of a castle, but more like a royal tone to it to fit the like actual atmosphere of what you're trying to explain. This example right here is something perfect to relate to in Tartuffe, because you really get the sense by just looking at the background aspects of the set, where you just see like the little details matter and how it's just the structure of the building that relates to its time period, because you don't see this in modern day, and how the placement and the colors of like the actual set brings out a different atmosphere that you'll usually see in your your one-story bedroom household. So that's pretty much the story about our technical project. I hope you enjoy, and thanks for listening.